I know I was born and raised in Italy, and I grew up in the South, and I did electrical engineering and computer science. Then I worked at CERN in Geneva. I worked at ETH in Zurich. Then I moved in 2018 to Palo Alto, California, where I was basically a computer architect for GPUs and domain-specific architecture for AI.
Okay.
And then after that, I moved in 2020 to the East Coast in the New York area to become co-founder of Exovolar.
What's the name of the company again?
Exovolar.
Exovolar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which basically means exoskeleton, and then volar, which means to fly in Spanish or Italian.
Now, I was watching a video on LinkedIn right now. People who are, they have ADHDs and they have, they have a certain particular. You will find people who cannot sit still, and they have a condition where their nervous system is they just keep on twitching.
Yeah.
So there's a skeleton built now. It's like a just wearable cloth. You just wear it, and because of the electric pulses it gives, it kind of stabilizes them.
Yeah. It's really fascinating what the power of exoskeletons, like especially in medical applications in these cases. We want to take the same, basically a similar technology, and take it to a step beyond that. That's why we're building an exoskeleton to make people fly.
Okay.
And our vision is to make our technology accessible to everyone.
When you think about flying, and how, because like we were talking about the other company which is doing something similar now, but at the same time, how there's a big question about safety.
Yes.
Right. I believe your technology is focused on having equipment on your leg. Right?
Yes, correct.
Now, do you think, and today it also looks bulkier.
Mm-hmm.
The equipments look bulkier, and it may not be accessible to everybody also because of the cost of the fuel, because of the cost of the equipment.
Correct.
So where do you see this going? One from safety, and the other is the accessibility from a cost.
Yeah. So, okay, let me tell you a little bit about our technology first. We want to make this technology accessible to everyone. We found the first market in first responders because there are places where helicopters cannot land or take off. In those situations, jetsuits can literally save lives.
Yep.
The problem with the current state-of-the-art jetpacks and jetsuits is that they do not allow to use your hands.
Yep.
And when evacuating people from a burning skyscraper, for instance, being able to use your hands can be the difference between life or death. So if you look around, for instance, Gravity Industries, which is one of my favorite companies and one of the pioneering companies in the world of jetsuits, they still fly using turbojet engines around the hands.
Yep.
So they rely a lot on the skills of the pilot to keep balance.
Yep.
And also on the upper body strength of the pilot to keep balance. And there might be also a safety issue. You can't crush your nose neither when you fly around with that. Our technology set is completely hands-free.
Okay.
We use thrust vectoring, which basically we change dynamically the orientation of each nozzle to help the pilot keep balance in midair.
Okay.
And it really feels like a Segway. So the level of safety is a little bit higher because it's autonomous, completely automatic. They adjust the orientation of each nozzle to make you stable. So let's say that if you start leaning forward, the nozzle of the suit to turn to push you back.
Okay.
And that pushing you back by balancing on mechanical forces makes you move forward. But I want to be clear on that. It's not going to be super safe, our first product. So that's why for a go-to-market strategy, while working through grants with the government, especially the United States Air Force, want to use our technology for search and rescue, reconnaissance, and surveillance, especially in first response operation. We want to tap into existing skydiving facilities or water park facilities so that they can offer a true flight in one of our jets to their customers. But at the beginning, we're going to have a tether. So there's going to be a tether, so that you're going to be connected to a tether. And from a regulation perspective, that's also easier to get to market. You don't need an FAA license if you have a cable connected to something. That's why Jetpack Aviation, which is another company, they build jetpacks, so still not hands-free. But they're already taking customer in the United States.
Okay.
So with the tether, you can, for instance, fly around over the Persian Gulf is here for 200, 300 meters, and that tether basically provides the safety that is necessary at the beginning. So it's going to take some time to reach a level of safety where you can actually fly around in a completely safe fashion. But we have the technology to make it happen. That's actually a problem that even air taxi are having today. But the technology is there. Just going to take a little bit more time to get there.
And where do you see this going? Like you were
Yeah.
giving me some references and I want you to share that again.
Yeah.
Where do you see this going?
So we want to build flight parks all around the world
Okay.
so that anyone can truly experience the dream of flying in one of our facilities. But our vision goes beyond that. I cannot wait to see what everyone will do when basically anyone will truly be able to experience the superpower of flight.
Okay.
There is an entire space on our planet, which is the sky, which we never accessed as easily as we access the ground.
Yeah.
Being able to fly will unlock that. So in the future, we'll build flying cities. In the future, we'll play Quidditch.
Okay.
But the truth is that life on Earth will transcend beyond recognition in the moment we are airborne.
Yep.
And that's where my vision goes.
And, in this conference and in this conversation, we've been talking a lot about metaverse, but what you are trying and what your company is trying to do is not focusing on the virtual world, but you're bringing that virtual world experience in the actual physical world.
Yeah.
Which is a very different world, right? It's that true, people talk about XR, but this is RR, right? Real world reality, right? Where you can actually fly. Today, people experience that through games or through AR and VR, but you are actually trying to do that. But, to make it accessible, like you're talking about, it needs a lot of regulation hurdles.
Yeah.
Like you said, FAA and all of that.
Yeah. So, and also, I remember you asked me another question about
cost.
About the cost. Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to tap into those things now. So yes, from a regulation perspective, as soon as you have a tether, you don't need an FAA license. But of course, we want to fly sooner or later, right? And the idea is for entertainment purposes. I'm talking about the FAA because I'm in the United States. There are actually regulations that are more relaxed, like in Australia.
Yeah.
To give an example, Amazon is using drones in Australia. It's not using that in New York.
Yes.
New York. You can't even fly an helicopter anymore in New York.
Yeah. You can't even get your cars around in New York.
Yeah. So I hope things are going to change there. But, there are other markets where it's easier to deploy drones, for instance.
Yep.
And hopefully air taxis soon. But in terms of regulation, for entertainment purposes, there is an ultralight class of the FAA, which is not too hard to get. Jetpacks from Jetpack Aviation, they already have an FAA license today.
Okay.
So we're not talking about the future. So there is a path
To get there.
And the reason is that, well, especially from the military, they try to deploy this technology since the 60s and the 70s. So it's not something new. Just now we are actually making that. In terms of costs, the first suits are going to be really expensive. So it's not going to be direct to consumer. But the idea of the flight parks is also to use the sort of subscription model that a lot of hardware companies are using right now. Or is, iFly.
Yeah.
iFly. iFly is an indoor skydiving facility. They have I think more than 90 operational facilities, and they have one in Dubai too.
Yes, they do.
And so you can go to iFly, pay for, I think about $100 for about 3 minutes of flight time. What we want to do is something similar, cheaper for longer. Our cost to deployment is going to be way less than that. We don't need a huge fan and an indoor skydiving tunnel. And so the idea is that even if the suit costs 5 to 10 minutes of flight time, it's going to be accessible. It's going to be a reasonable price for it. Yes.
No, it's like when iFly came out, it was fascinating for many people. It's become a regular activity.
Yes. Yeah.
Now,
I reckon.
and a lot of people first do iFly and then they say, okay, I want to experience the real skydiving activity. No, this is fascinating, and definitely look forward to how quickly can you get those jetpacks. And you showed me some of those. Hopefully, we can share this with the audience as well.
Yeah.
Some of the packs which you all are coming up in the future, which is going to be promising. One last question, which is kind of going back in my mind, and you said your packs, the jet packs, are going to be like Segway, right? And a person like me versus a person like you, our body dimensions are very different.
Yeah.
Which means you would need a lot of data.
Yes.
You would need a lot of, I would use the word AI to help manipulate.
Yeah.
And do it in real time. Do you think that ecosystem is ready, or is it still far out?
Like,
the process
we're
of
talking into AI right now.
Okay.
There are drones that can fly themselves today.
Yep. Autonomous.
It took us millions of years to go from walking to riding horses, thousands to get to a motor vehicle, hundreds to get to a flying vehicle, and now we have things that fly themselves without a human input.
Yeah.
So the advancement in control engineering and robotics, even excluding AI, are amazing today, and we can use those advancements to make a suit that is also adaptable depending on the pilot. And to give an example, we're actually showcasing this today in Dubai for the first time ever. The suit that is going to be ready for the public to use in 2024, we're going to have thrust vectoring, but also adjustable engine position.
Wow.
And the idea is that the closer the engines are to your center of gravity,
Okay.
the easier it gets to fly. You can wiggle around and the suit doesn't wiggle too much. The more far the engines are from the center of gravity, the more performant it gets, so you can do all the crazy stuff in midair. The idea of having adjustable engine position actually solved that problem because it allows the same suit to be able to be used for pilots of different skill levels. AI definitely helps in that role too. Gathering data, for instance, one thing that we are going to gather in Q1 of next year are data from the pilot themselves.
Okay.
Like understanding how you wiggle. Depending on how you wiggle around, the nozzle will have to turn in a certain direction to make you stable. So having that sort of, you can do that already with control engineering and robotics. AI would give a prediction that.
Yes.
Start predicting how people will start moving in order to, counteract things before they name it.
Okay.
So yes, I definitely see AI helping us a lot on that end. The ecosystem is not mature yet, but it's growing. And it's not different from what the ecosystem is for drones. Now there are so many startups that are helping drone company gathering data. And so the same thing can be applied also for jet suits.
No, this has been a fun conversation. Thank you for taking time out. I know I just put you on spot and said, let's do this. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Always ready.
No, great. Probably hit you up in New York when I'm
Yeah, please let me know.
Definitely. No, thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Likewise.